Welcome to Canada's podcast.
Business leaders, ready to cut costs and boost growth with a recurring billing solution that's built for you? Our platform won't just save you money, it'll help you grow so that you make more money. Bill clearly, grow quickly with Visible. To calculate your savings, head to visible.com today.
Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, Managing Editor of Canada's Podcast. Joining me today on Calgary's podcast is Callie B. Elwayns, who is founder and curator of Bold Visible in Calgary. Thanks for joining us.
Excited to join you.
Well, tell us a little bit about what you do, Callie.
Well, Mario, I help accomplished leaders, speakers, coaches, and consultants to really step into their authentic self-expression, basically to become an unforgettable communicator, all in service to having a bigger impact in the world in these changing times.
Okay, so and how do you do that? Like in what kind of avenues and ways do you reach out to people and help people?
So I have a couple of programs that I run in the space for entrepreneurs. For mostly, I work with women. I have a lot of men in my world as well, but I really focus my work on women. And we step into understanding, right now in these times, we have a much larger, things are changing, the way we're working, we're living in the world, right? How we're communicating is changing. And so we take on our larger calling, if you will. I take them through a 9-month process where we really let go of anything that might be blocking us from stepping forward and really taking the risks we need to do to give our gift in the world. We find our voice, literally going through voice work. We navigate and find our story. And really what we're just doing is we're building confidence to step out and be who we are. And at the end, we step onto a beautiful big stage and share ourselves with the world in a whole new way.
Okay, how did you start this?
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm a career CEO, and I have spent many, many years inside of really challenging myself to be courageous and step forward. And even though everything looked really great on the outside, I was well known, a public figure, doing great things in the world. I really did struggle with, I think, speaking confidently, speaking my truth in the way that was truly me. And so I had to do a lot of work around finding out why that was. And it wasn't about all the stuff outside of me. It was really about things that I was challenged with inside. And so really my journey was through cultivating my own visibility and my own ability to do this. And in doing so, I did things like stepping onto the stage myself, really learning how to let go of some of the stress and trauma in my body. I work a lot with the physicality of women because I work with women who are very, very high level women who are already really successful, right? So really it was inside of my own work that I then stepped out and built my body of work, which is growing rapidly and expanding. It's really exciting. I've helped hundreds of women now step out and really own their gift in the world.
Okay, tell us your story, Callie. Like, I know that I saw some stuff on, I think it was on your LinkedIn, but about the challenges you've had in life and how you've gotten here. But just maybe just tell our listeners and viewers here what your story is.
Yeah, thanks, Mario, because really it's that story and that story in all of us that is the gift that we haven't really been able to come out and speak to. For me, I grew up in Calgary. I'm born and bred here. I did leave for a few years and thought I was never going to be back, but I fell back in love with the city. But, back in the early 80s, I came from a middle-class family. Family goes to church, really great parents, but we had some mental health issues in our home. And as often happens in those kinds of homes, the kids can sometimes get into difficult situations. I ended up living on the street right here in the city, homeless for 4 years. I was 13 years old. Mm-hmm. And you can imagine back in the 80s, there was really no structures or supports the way there is today, which I'm so grateful for. Yeah. So, that struggle and that journey of living in this city with nowhere to live, like literally in the abandoned buildings, under bridges, those kinds of things, really was the place where I really, my defining moment happened, where I gained an incredible amount of resolve and strength. Difficult times for sure, right? But it was that journey that actually caused me to stand up and take leadership. I got myself into, fully educated. I have a master's degree in educational psychology, but the journey to get there was hard. And I was a born leader, even on the street.
Yeah.
I would help youth, young people. I held workshops for young people on the street, even before I could get off, to help them find their way. But, it's often harder to find your own way. So I was a born leader, and I've always ended up in places of leadership. But again, it's the struggle. I struggled with a lot of shame. I struggled with a lot of trauma. And even at the height of my career success as a CEO in the boardroom making big decisions, I would find myself, just really self-limiting. And so that's, it's the journey through those things that we find the hardest, right? That actually are our gift.
Yeah, exactly.
Canada's podcast, the #1 podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs.
So what do you think it was that I guess helped you survive, or in that time?
First of all, I had a lot of faith. I had faith in life. I had a deep faith. I had faith in God, actually. I had a sense of that I was going to be okay, and that I had a bigger calling, like I had something larger to do with my life. So actually, that's my defining moment. I was challenged by Big Gina. She was another girl on the street. I was a skinny little 13-year-old, and Big Gina, she was a tough one. Yeah. And she told me, Callie, what makes you think you're so much better than us? No one makes it off the street. And, that was the moment that I knew, no. I felt in my down deep, no, I'm here to do something much bigger. So even though my circumstances were not on the outside looking that way, I felt that. Yeah. And really that was it. That was the potential I could feel inside of me. And that's what I really light up in women in the world who are already really accomplished, but yet there's something else much riskier and much bolder to do. Yeah.
Yeah. What was the biggest challenge? I think a lot of people think about this and talk about this, but transitioning from being on the street to normal life. What's the biggest challenge there in making that transition?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's one of the things is coming back in just to the regular structures of society. So, being out of the economy for one thing, not just really this low self-worth is a big challenge. A lot of embodied shame and just not having the network. So it's really important to build structure around yourself. For me, I was lucky. I found a lot of mentors that could bring me into some solid community, building community again, having people around you that are can see you and support you getting into school. I think it's building the structures that are necessary for all of us, that most of us take for granted, right? Mm-hmm. We take it for granted that we've got this web of interrelational structures that a lot of people on the street don't have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And when you look back at that time, what were some of the biggest lessons you learned that help you to this very day?
Yeah, well, it's funny. Like I said, it was easier to help others than to help myself. But that was the first step for me. And often actually street involved youth or people, you'll see them helping others first. Mm-hmm. But really it was to get visible, to ask for help, not to go it alone, to speak up. Mm-hmm. You know what? One of the things I did actually is when I realized, so I had lung collapses. I had to have double lung surgery because I was it came from being deeply afraid on the street. And there was a point where I could have chosen two paths. And the path I chose was to get off the street and to get into my life. And the simple thing I did, Mario, I asked people for coffee, right? I asked everyday people, business people on the street in Calgary for coffee. And a lot of them just didn't want anything to do with a street kid like me, right? But I made some amazing mentors. So I spoke up. One beautiful friend of mine, many years now, he was he's a genius computer scientist back in the day, and he taught me math and physics. And a beautiful nurse that I've been trying to find in Calgary. She supported me so much. She let me listen to Chopin in her apartment. And so it was like it was standing up and being seen, asking for help, being willing to do that.
Business leaders, ready to cut costs and boost growth with a recurring billing solution that's built for you? Our platform won't just save you money, it'll help you grow so that you make more money. Bill clearly, grow quickly with Visible. To calculate your savings, head to visible.com today.
Being an entrepreneur today, Callie, what's well, first of all, what do you like about being an entrepreneur?
Oh, 100% love it. I'm having the time of my life. First of all, obviously, I can create my own world.
Yeah.
I believe that everyone has a calling or some art to give of themselves. And being an entrepreneur is being able to do that under your own design. I can create what I want to create. I'm the kind of person, maybe partly from living on the street, that I don't have to come under a particular structure. I have the freedom to grow. I have the freedom, right? I just feel like right now it's a time for entrepreneurs.
Yeah. And why is that?
Well, don't you think, our planet is changing. The corporate structures and the cultural structures and economic structures are shifting. And there's so much, like, a lot of us have solutions that are needed in these times that are different than, the old expectations. And so and plus, I can reach millions. You can reach millions. You are reaching millions, right? You're reaching millions you're reaching people through this process. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
And so there's an opportunity for so many of us to step in where maybe in the past there wasn't, we had to work inside a structure that limited us. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think is, I guess, some of the key things that an individual needs to be successful as an entrepreneur?
Well, I think they need a viable product that brings real results. They need to understand the problems of those they serve, right? They need to, or the problem of the space in the market that they need to take up. So first of all, you need to be able to bring really great results. You need a good structure and confidence to move it forward. You need a great network. You need to put the other, we need to work really hard and be willing to be patient. I teach women entrepreneurs in my graduate programs how to really launch their next steps. And most of them, a lot of us want to be a lot further along. We want to be on the 10-year time frame when we're really in the sod turning seeding point. So I think it's being patient, honoring the cycles, right? Honoring the cycles, and being really clear about what we're bringing forward in the world.
And when you look at what you're doing today, Callie, I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts about the future in terms of what you want to do with your business and in general?
Oh yeah, I'm in this really great point now. So Mario, I'm in about 5-year time frame for this particular body of work, and it's blossomed into several different, very viable, really powerful arms of the work. And it's a snowball effect, right? We stick with it. It's 10 years to overnight success. Yeah, I see. You know what? I'm taking my stages out all over the world. So we're going to Europe. We're going to the United States. We're going to be in the East and West Coast and in Canada. So, I see it as a way. I'm just helping women step into their freedom and their ability to navigate much more from their center on the planet at this point in time. So I just see myself having a lot of fun and really making an impact globally. My women are the women in my work right now. In fact, they're coming out onto my stage are coming from Paris. They're coming from London, Hong Kong, LA, all over the US, Seattle, New York, and then all over Canada, of course, Toronto, Calgary, Vancouver.
Yeah. Okay. Now you mentioned, I know earlier you used the word risk, and I'm curious, how important is risk taking in being an entrepreneur?
100%. 100% important, especially if we're pioneering something new, you're a startup or you're taking up a new space in the, in the field. Absolutely, you have to take risks, and you need to take personal risks as well. So, I mean, a lot of us are risk averse, and certainly, I mean, most humans are.
Yeah.
We're wired to survive. Yeah, but I mean, obviously, we want to take thoughtful risks, and I teach my entrepreneurial students to take calculated risks. But there's risk for investing. There's risk for pouring your life into your work. For lifting it up with capital. But there's also risk for stepping out and maybe saying something different and being on the edge of something different.
Yeah.
And that can feel really, that can frankly, it holds a lot of women back, that they're just about to step out and give their gift and really, be abundant in their business and do their thing. And they kind of stay in the margins.
Yeah, exactly. So what would you say to somebody who may be kind of risk averse, right? I'm not sure if I should do this. Like, what would you tell them, to help them, jump over that obstacle, I guess?
Well, I guess in my very specific body of work and what I do, specifically with women, is I deal with this. This is the thing. I help people cross the finish line, and usually they've got everything in place and they know what they kind of sense, they know what they should do. And really, I call it creating a platform of inner safety so that we can step forward and take the risks. So we look at really carefully, what's the truth about what's holding us back? We work with our nervous system. It might sound woo-woo, super science, though. It's just, we actually land in a more common regulated sense of who we are, so we can step out and take the risks and be really clear about that, feel really comfortable to do it. We don't want to, it's when you're uncomfortable and you're in survival and you're taking the risk, that's not a good mix.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So when when you're looking at people that want to be entrepreneurs or are thinking about it, what would you tell them about Calgary itself and being an entrepreneur here?
Oh my goodness. I love this. So, right. Calgary has the energy, enthusiasm. There is a incredible community up under you. Anything you want to get done in Calgary. I did move. I said I left Calgary for a while. I was a West Coaster for 20 years.
Oh, wow.
And when I came back to Calgary, I was just lifted up by the energy of, if you have an idea, someone's going to get behind you. Part of me, West Coast, but in the West Coast, you'd have a seed, you'd have an idea, and then a focus group, and then 6 years of, discussions about, the idea, and then you take it to a vote.
Yeah. Yeah.
But here, we're really, this is a great environment to start any venture.
So a good climate here for people to start businesses.
There's incredible resources. There's incredible, social capital and intelligence and data networks. There's drive. You're going to find everything you need and want to be able to lift up your business in Calgary.
Yeah. So I'm curious, being away for 20 years, when you came back, what were some of the things going through your mind about how the city has changed at that time?
Yeah, well, I came back and I just was, I'd been imbued with this West Coast, ideology in a little bit of a way. I thought Calgary was just going to be, an oil and gas driven, all money driven. But what I came back and found was first of all, a much more beautified community. I absolutely love the way Calgary's just lifted itself up in terms of its physical landscapes and its environment. Changed a lot. But I mean, the felt sense of the city, like what was going on, the energy of connection, the people who cared about where we were heading, the sophistication, the mix of cultures, and just the Calgary had leveled up into this, cuisine and any, it really matured.
Yeah. Sure. So when you're looking at, people in general today, and you talked earlier about mental health stuff, there's a lot of talk today about mental health and considering the times we've gone through and the challenging economic times that's still there. What's your advice for people to get through things if they're dealing with anything?
Yeah, times are hard, right? And we've really been in a struggle, and we're still going through it. This is what I think, Mario. It's a paradox. And if we can really hold the paradox, we can really have hope. On the one hand, can we hold all the change and the loss and the grief and just all of the uncertainty that's happening right now for us individually and on the planet and our community and our families? But on the other hand, at the same time, can we actually still hold this, can we move ahead a little bit into our life, into a little bit of hope for the kind of the uncharted territory, that is always beyond these challenges, right? And can we hold this together? Because we can just completely lose sight of the fact that there's good things happening.
Yeah.
Of the fact that there's more that we deserve and desire and want. And it's kind of like, can we bring it together and hold the paradox? Because, we can be in a collapse or in a time of change, and also we can be in a time of expansion. And holding the paradox, I think, is just a really important perspective.
Yeah. So, now, obviously, you've lived quite an interesting life, and you're busy these days, obviously, with your work, etc. What do you do beyond the work? I just to give you some balance in life. Like, what are some of your interests and hobbies, passions?
Yeah, well, you know what? I have 2 amazing grandkids. Let's start there.
That'll
Emma
keep
and
you busy.
Griffin. Absolutely. Emma's in junior high now. She's in grade 8. And my grandson, Griff, he's in grade 6. So family is really where I really take solace and have a lot of fun. I also like to travel and really integrate myself. Go to Costa Rica, stay there quite a bit. I have a studio in Costa Rica, but really I just take the time to retreat from the world and integrate what's going on and give myself a creative space.
Excellent. Do you think that's something? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I also do this great improv practice called Meisner. And it really is it's my hobby. It's completely fun, but it also helps me to loosen up all the tightness of having to get everything right. When you fail a lot in front of people and it's funny, it's a fun endeavor, and it's a growing endeavor too. It's a growth practice.
All right. Wonderful. All right. Well, I appreciate your time on this, Callie.
Thank you, Mario. It's great to be with you.
All right. That was Callie B. Elwayns, who is founder and curator of Bold Visible in Calgary. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's podcast. Today, Calgary's podcast. Thanks for joining us.
Business leaders, ready to cut costs and boost growth with a recurring billing solution that's built for you? Our platform won't just save you money, it'll help you grow so that you make more money. Bill clearly, grow quickly with Visible. To calculate your savings, head to visible.com today.
Canada's podcast, the #1 podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs.